Hello, I'm Kathy and I'm obsessed with fondue. Let's start fonduing. So you either need a high-speed blender like a Vitamix Blendtec. I believe this would work in the Beast, but I haven't tried it because there was steam coming out of that just from 2 minutes. Because we're going to use tapioca starch. I have had people use arrowroot starch successfully, so that's something else you can do. We can use either 2 cups of non-dairy milk, or we can use water. I want this to be a little richer today. Chef AJ isn't actually tasting this today. Will you put this over to the...
I need a bowl or something to set it in. Here, okay. I'll get something.
Okay, that'd be great. So if Chef AJ was going to be here today, actually don't worry about it. Just hold it for a second.
Hold what?
Actually, don't even worry about it. What
this?
Did I say? 2 cups? If she was coming, I would not put soy milk in it because then she wouldn't be able to have it anymore. Here. I figured it out.
Are you done with this?
Just put it to the side.
There?
Yeah, don't clean that up. If she throws away my soy milk, it'll make me very sad. And so we've got 1 cup of oats, just rolled oats, 2 cups of soy milk or water or milk of your choice. Any plain unsweetened milk, store-bought or homemade, will work just fine. I'm going to put in extra nutritional yeast for this because I want it to be a little bit stronger than that goat cheese. And I'm looking at the recipe I did the other day, and I think we'll start with a 1/4 cup nooch, and then we'll see if we want it to be stronger. I ran out of the normal nutritional yeast I use, so I am using Nutrilicious or something like that. So it may be stronger or less strong. So we're going to start there. I'm going to want to put in a 1/2 teaspoon of tapioca starch. So we really aren't using a lot, but this is what makes this stretchy. And it's going to make it fondue-esque in all the ways we want it to be. I'm going to do about a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, which I tend to do in almost all of these fondue or cheese sauces. Let you see here. I'm going to put a little bit of onion powder in there too. And that just helps, build these flavors. And we're going to do like a pinch or an 1/8 of a teaspoon of dry mustard. Dry mustard is great for adding a sharpness, and so that's good. And I am going to use a 1/2 teaspoon of lactic acid. If you see me taking a break, I'm writing some notes so I can get that recipe out to you. This is how we're starting. We may change a little bit. I am going to do a tablespoon of miso. A tablespoon of miso. If you don't use any salt, you can skip that. It is going to add some good funk, some cheese funk in there. Obviously, this one's a little old. I'll add some extra funk. If you don't want to add salt, but you're okay with adding miso, you could just add extra miso. I tend to add a little salt because cheese is pretty much just salt.
What is that made out of?
Miso, this miso is, can you go to the front again? Thank you. Is with organic soybeans, rice, salt, yeast, koji culture, and it's from Japan. This one is red miso. There's white miso. There's darker misos. I don't care what miso you use. Use whichever one you like. The lighter will affect the color less. So if that bothers you, then don't do that. Okay, and I'm going to put a little salt. You could put salt substitute. You could use more miso. I'm just going to put a 1/2 teaspoon of salt in there. And that gives me my base fondue. What I was thinking of doing for this pizza fondue, and I'm going to talk about it, and then while this is going to have to blend for a couple of minutes, it's going to be loud, and then we're going to tweak it. I thought we would take some crushed tomatoes. This is was thinking if we served pizza fondue, we don't necessarily want the cheese and the sauce mixed up together, right? I like all the sauce. So you could dip your potato, and that's another thing we haven't talked about. What can you put in fondue? Even if you're sofas, you can put stuff in fondues. I did steamed broccoli, steamed asparagus, steamed baby potatoes. I also did air fried tofu cubes. You could do tempeh cubes. You could use, I just forgot, but the chickpea tofu, tempeh tofu, whatever works in your particular diet. So Cheryl did find this beautiful no oil bread at Whole Foods that had purple rice in it, and because we were living our best New Year's Eve life. I mean, it was all still McDougall-compliant. We just typically limit our bread intake. We limit our nut intake, and we did 2 fondues. We did an oat fondue, and then we did one that did have almonds in it. Okay.
So
come in where, if you're gonna.
So we also had broccoli and baby potatoes. I thought we still had some of those left, but I think one of us might have ate those for dinner last night.
I ate them all. And you can do baby carrots and stuff too. I'm just gonna put a little bit of Italian seasoning in here. What do you think? You want to smell it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If you don't have Italian seasoning, you could just do a little oregano, basil, some rose. I think I'm going to put a little, actually there's a little bit of rosemary in there. So I'm probably putting about a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Let's go ahead and doctor it up a little bit too. Let's put like 1/8 of a teaspoon of onion powder, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm going to write those down. And you could do like red pepper flakes in there if that's something that you like. I'm going to go ahead and add a tablespoon of nutritional yeast as well. And this was about a 13.76 ounce crushed tomatoes. Super not helpful, people. And I'm just going to mix this in. And what I would do, you could heat it on the stove. You could decide to serve at room temperature, which is honestly how I'm going to do it today. We'll dip, our warm stuff in the hot fondue because we're going to put the fondue in a fondue pot and let this be. But see, look at that. It went from being, there's nothing in here but crushed tomatoes. These are actually no salt added as well. So these are the tomatoes I'm using today. So if you are salt-free, just make sure, and there is a little bit of citric acid in there. And let's taste that. I'll give a little taste for me and a little taste for Cheryl. It's really fresh.
Oh, that's really
rich,
good.
And so even though we eat some salt, that doesn't need any salt whatsoever. So I would not recommend adding any anyhow. So you're great for salt-free. It's got a rich umami from the tomatoes, but just adding a little bit of that herbs, just a tiny bit of nooch, it really tastes like that spaghetti sauce we bought.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say if that was spaghetti sauce, I'd be really happy.
Right.
Like, that would be really good.
And what this is going to do is make this seem super fun. Like super, super fun. Because the more things you can dip in and play with, and then the other thing I'm going to serve on the side as a sprinkle is, come here, nope, there we go, is this local spicery pepperoni spice. Chef AJ knows that one.
Yum.
Right?
So why would you not mix it in with the cheese?
You could, but chances are pepperoni is spicy.
Oh.
And you don't like spicy.
I don't.
Yep, this is going to be
Too spicy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Here,
great.
You want me to give you a little bit?
No.
Yeah.
I could tell by the way you reacted to it that I would probably die if I had that. So.
I think you would. There's red pepper. So like in here, let's see what it says. smoked paprika, chilies, anise seeds, mustard seeds, garlic, and fennel.
Yeah.
So, but the red chilies are way up there.
So this would make it so if there were people there like me that didn't want that, they could have just the sauce and the cheese, and then other people could also add in the blend.
Yeah, you could either, because you could either dip and make your own little bowl. Okay, I think we're ready. I'll show you this one more time and read off what's in here. And it's going to take a minute or two to blend. 2 cups of soy milk in here. It could be any non-dairy milk or water. 1 cup rolled oats. 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast. 1/2 teaspoon of tapioca starch. 1/2 teaspoon garlic. 1/4 teaspoon onion powder. 1/8 teaspoon mustard powder. 1/2 teaspoon of lactic acid. 1 tablespoon of miso. And I did 1/2 teaspoon of salt, but you could totally skip that. You can skip the miso even, right? This is your deal. All right, so I'm going to blend it just a little bit, but then what the magic happens is it has to cook. So in a Vitamix or a Blendtec blender, once that heat starts coming on, it activates the tapioca starch, which gives you a stringy, stretchy product. It's a little annoying. It's going to be a little loud. I think my mics take care of it. But usually when you're doing it, you hear, it actually changes the note and you know it's pretty close. Go too far, add more liquid, start again. All right, I'm going to do it for real now. Okay, I'm feeling it and it feels a little warm. It may not be all the way done. Cheryl's going to get a piece of bread just because that's the easiest way for us to test all the flavors. Can you see the poof of smoke? I don't know if you saw that or not. Oh yeah, it's already ready. Look. So I'm gonna, I've got a little fondue pot. I don't know if you guys can see. If you joined on New Year's Eve, is it not the cutest? It's a cast iron pumpkin fondue pot. Basically, it's the Kathy Hester trap in the store. So let me get some of this out. I want you to see it from the front so you can really see, like, see, look how thick. You guys see that?
Oh.
Right? And what I should have done is tasted and adjusted everything. So let me taste now. I can adjust it in the pot too. I feel pretty good about it. Mozzarella is kind of a mildly spiced cheese, so I don't want any more mustard or anything like that in there. So I think this is perfect for that. I would say, you know, make sure you clean up fast. This is the bread with the purple rice that Cheryl found that didn't have any oil in it already. Another place that we found some no oil bread, for those of you who do flours, Aldi's has an Ezekiel bread. It doesn't say, it's like seed-tastic or grain-tastic or something. I think it has a seed and a grain version. And if I had let this go much longer, it would probably be a little bit too thick. All I'd have to do is put some water in there, see? And I wanted to show you one other quick thing, and then we'll kind of put this together. You could do other toppings, like obviously we're just kind of, we'll be steaming some stuff later for dinner. Or actually it's not dinner, it's breakfast, lunch, brunch. This is the leftover okara. And you're getting a bonus recipe that isn't on the blog yet that I have to. So in here is about a cup of okara, a tablespoon of nutritional yeast, 1/2 teaspoon of salt or salt substitute, and 1/4 teaspoon of lactic acid. This is my New Year's present to all of you. Free ricotta when you make soy milk. It costs $10 for just about this much oil-full ricotta by Kite Hill. So Before McDougall, we would buy it maybe once a year, but this tastes just as good. And if your okara is not quite as fine as this, it just even adds to that the ricotta illusion. And we do use this in compliant lasagna. You can do it in grilled sandwiches. You can put it on zoodles. There's lots of things you can do with it. So can you plug this in over there?
Sure.
We don't want to, and I may whisk in a little bit more milk. You will notice that as it sits, if it's not in the heat, and even as it's on the heat, it is going to dry around the edges. And it's easy enough, and I'll show you how to do it, to whisk in just a little more non-dairy milk or water. It doesn't really matter. There is a little bit of a technique to it. And I always want to mess it up. And I was trying to show Cheryl how to do it. So like you always want to go wah, as fast as you can, but really bring from the outside into the middle for a little bit. Help it get in, because if you just go this as fast as you can, the liquid's just going to splash out of your pan. But look do you see how stretchy this is? Like, look at that. That's a cheese pull. That's as close to a real cheese pull as I ever see. And there's no oil in there. No nuts, no seeds, oats. You can do it without the lactic acid. So if you're wanting to make this today and you don't have the lactic acid, what I would do, how much did I say I put in? I think I put in a half teaspoon. You might just put a few drops of apple cider vinegar or rice vinegar in there to give it a little tang, or a little bit extra nutritional yeast. So see how that fixed it really quick? So if you're having a long party, you might need to do that a couple of times. Also, the edges will dry as, as anything like this is going to. And it's a little different than the cooked cheese. The cooked cheese, when we're using the whisk, it comes off sliceable. So that's how you can tell which cheese you made if you forgot, if you're middle-aged like I am. So with this, we've got two little dippies, and actually I can even put some spoons in these dips. If we were, there is a spoon in that one. So if we were having a real party, we wouldn't want everybody dipping and everything. So this is how I would do it. I would grab a piece of bread. This could be a potato for those of you who don't do any kind of flours. Let me get this where you can see it more. It'll be more fun. So I'm going to dip in here, get that long cheese fondue goodness. Oh, where did I put the spice? Do you see it?
That's right.
Oh, can you open it?
Yeah.
And
Do you
then
want to put it in a little something?
No, I'm just going to sprinkle some. So then I would take a little bit of this pizza sauce. You could do this however you want. You could even take a little bit of ricotta if you wanted to get nuttified, and a sprinkle of pepperoni spice. Oh, that's so going to drip. I'm going to get that.
Go for it.
Look at that. Look at that. Now make yours. So since I'm calling this pizza fondue, I feel like I would be amiss to not have some sort of tomato component. If you wanted to, you can mix it in together with the oat queso. After I make the queso in the blender, exactly the same process. I think I put jalapeno powder in it. I think that's about the only one. Did you try the?
Yeah, it's really good. It really adds something to it.
The tomato?
Yeah, I almost would think it would be good added in there.
We could add it in there. You want to?
Yeah.
Okay, we can add it in. So I was going to say, when I do the queso, a lot of times I will go ahead and add in no salt Rotel tomatoes, because there's tomatoes and green chilies and stuff like that, and that makes it seem really special. Okay, so here we go.
You may not need all of it.
I know, I'm going to put about half in. And I know that's a weird amount as far as, really should probably whisk this instead of doing it this way. You want to whisk? Look at you whisking like a pro. You can get in there more. It's not going to splash the same way the soy milk is going to splash because it's got some weight to it. But you can totally do it like this. So like if I'm doing, okay, I never do a Super Bowl party, but let's say I'm doing like Mexican night. I would go ahead and put the Rotel and all of that stuff in with the queso, and this is very similar. So you could do it either way. So Cheryl's going to try it this way and then tell us if we should put the rest in or not. Probably I'm going to think we do because I like all sauce.
We need some more sauce.
Okay, so Cheryl says all in.
Yeah, it's not balanced right.
Okay. And this is kind of part of the beauty of starting. So when you're experimenting with something, keep it as isolated as possible. So like, right, we didn't just throw this in to begin with because then it would be harder to decide what we needed in our fondue. Go ahead and, you're on the stirring train now, Cheryl. And see, that looks more right to me because I love tomato sauce. So when we have pasta, and I hope you guys know, for starch solution wise, pasta is starch solution compliant, especially whole grain pasta, because it's considered kind of an in-between starch, but they say it works like a wet starch because it's had the water soaked up into it. And I like all the sauce.
And I think we should just put a little bit of this in there.
You want to put a little bit in? Okay.
Yeah. Not too crazy amount, but.
Let me get that a little bit. Okay, so we probably put not quite maybe a half teaspoon. Let's try that in. And Cheryl doesn't usually cook, so Cheryl's kind of showing you guys, if you're not used to being adventurous, this is what it looks like, because now we'll taste it again. It's always better to put in just a little bit, 70,000 times, than it is to put a big amount once and go, oh, it's ruined. Actually, I'm not even going to fondue stick. I'm just going to grab some right out of the pot like a heathen, like the heathen I am. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. That's just right. Yeah. And again, for apologies to those of you who don't eat bread that were eating bread in front of you. My favorite part of fondue night.
I thought we still had some broccoli in there. That's what I was looking for earlier, but I forgot she ate that last night.
I ate a whole bag of steamed broccoli. And if you have family members that are kind of having trouble eating their veggies, you don't have to make this whole big amount. You can quarter it or halve it and just serve it over broccoli and things like that.
I think the pepperoni spice really took it to a new level.
It does. And if you don't like pepperoni spice, or if maybe you have a delicate stomach and you can't handle that level of spice, you can do a nice Italian sausage seasoning and make it sausage pizza.